Well, hello there, everyone. Welcome to another Thursday, but not any Thursday. We are the fourth and final Thursday of the month, which means we are going to have a training today, a full JK training. Hope you have had an amazing month, and I'll invite you to take a few moments to reflect on this month that has just gone by and express some gratitude towards it. Celebrate your victories and your challenges as opportunities for growth. Let's get started. So nice to see you all here who are directly, those of you who are coming directly on to the Zoom invitation, and welcome as well to our extended family from Facebook who is chiming in, cross streaming live with us. So nice to see you all here, still trickling in. Trina, Kajal, Julio, Francois, Colleen, and the extended family as well. So let us jump in. As you know, I like to jam pack these monthly trainings, and I want to give you as much as I possibly can for you. So today, I am not going to forget to share my screen and my sound because last week I did. And so it is done. We are successful. And today we're going to have a couple of videos for you on today's topic. So, but before we go in, jump in, I think I needed that little swing of energy. I am actually fighting a virus right now, and I just realized that my energy might have been a little low. So I'm going to try to pump it up for you. And thank you, past Kyle, for putting that clip in there and pumping up the volume and the energy. So before we begin, I'd like to congratulate Trina, who is on the call. She was on JK's Alliance last evening. She's part of the JK Alliance, and she had her first return to the spotlight. And also congratulations to Naja and Jim, who had their first spotlight in the Alliance, which was amazing. If you haven't heard about the Alliance, you don't know what that is, be sure to send us an email. We can give you some details on that. It is a US real estate specific mastermind for you. So last month on our on our monthly training, we spoke about buy and holds, basically, that in the US and certain parts, there are certainly properties in the US where it is simply turnkey galore. You can buy and hold. There's no rehab needed. You can buy with the two fundamental golden rules of real estate for cash flow. So that was all last month, and I'll invite you to go back to last month or go in the recordings vault. If you're in the Now for Tomorrow Club, you can go listen to that over and over again. And we also spoke about the Key to Freedom, which is basically this project that we purchased, and it is ongoing now. We have, and this is just a quick update, we have entered the automation phase. It has been running for a little over 2 months now. We've learned the kinks of the project. Now it's a matter of automating as much as those, so there are less distractions in the business. We're going to be creating an entire online course to handle the inquiries that are coming from our short-term guests. So this is a very unique project. I'm trying to give you updates as we go. We have basically learned the property, learned everything there is. All the frequently asked questions have been asked, and now it's the automation phase, which are going to occupy the next couple of weeks to basically put it as much as possible on autopilot so we can scale and replicate the project. And so we know why we're here. There are some opportunities in the US, tremendous opportunities, more than just price point, but for cash flow and buying at a discount. When we always like to say, buy at half price for double the return. And if you know what that means, it means it's a 4 times stronger investment. And with some foundational business practices and Pareto's law and all these fun things, in the mathematics of real estate, we know how we can really put that 4x on steroids and put a 6 in front of it and massively exponentiate our investing capabilities. And so all this is coming through these monthly trainings for you, which brings us to today's training, which is fix and flips. We are going to be talking about fix and flips, specifically doing that remotely as out of state out of city, out of country investors. We're going to highlight some of the pros and the cons, the biggest pros and cons that we've come across in our experience. And this is the topic of turning trash into cash. I will say that Janie and myself, we're not expert fix and flippers. It is not our main business model. It's more of a side hobby. So I'm putting that disclaimer out there. If you want to learn how to do fix and flips, we have a lot of we have a lot of experience, but it's not our main business model. There are people out there who are better positioned to teach you the intricacies, the specific ins and outs of the business, but we're going to show you a ton of tricks and potential pitfalls of this business model as well. So starting right from the beginning, we have this is a webinar. This is primarily a one-directional education hour. If you have questions, put them in the Q&A. If we have time, we will get to them. If there's technical difficulties, please use the chat for that. I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. So if you lose the sound or lose anything, let me know in there. Please remain respectful in the chat, but let's have fun. Let's have fun in the process. We're going to all learn from our courageous leader, the reason we're all here today. I always like to spend a couple of minutes on these monthly trainings to explain to you who we are, where we're coming from, because some of you are coming into the JK universe for the very first time. So I think it's nice to spend a few moments there. So Janie, our courageous leader, the president CEO of all of our companies, who has quite the vision for her life and for your life as well. We truly believe that it's through real estate investing, through starting with solid principles and starting as young as possible, that we can really achieve the lifestyle we deserve. So it's her vision and her very strong desire to travel. Again, today she went traveling. It's her goddess day. Thursdays are her goddess days, and so she didn't work. She didn't work today. She was out celebrating life, and good for her for doing that. We have then myself, vice president and COO of many companies. Three main ones on the screen here, where we buy, teach, and manage real estate. And I am the optimizer. I am the teacher. I am the pillar, the cornerstone of so many Canadians investing in the US. I'm the one who loves to show up and be there and support through our experiences and our knowledge. So in a nutshell, that's who I am. Anyways, let's keep it at that. But we started, I think, from pretty humble beginnings. This was my very first property. It was a property in Canada, purchased for about $250,000, no discount, no cash flow. Not the best investment, but we still own it today, and it's a good far out retirement savings account. I love it for that reason, not for cash flow, not because it accelerated our retirement, but it has other benefits. So what did our first year of US real estate look like? A lot of money spent, a lot of time spent in learning how to do it right. Just like this training is coming to you, we have attended a lot of similar trainings, paid trainings. This is all, we're giving it to you all on the silver platter, and on these deal reveals and on these monthly trainings. And so we want you to get those basics right and take action. And after we spent a ton of money in learning how to do it, we started buying a property. We only had enough to buy one property, so we did. But de fil en aiguille, like we say in French, from one step after the next, we continued building our portfolio. And after our first year, we had nearly 10 doors under our belt, a couple $1,000 in monthly cash flow, and we had a ton of experiences under our belt, which included 2 failed flips, which included a ton of what not to do if you're going to be doing this remotely, and lots of adventures along the way, which is added to our story bank, and which we like to share with you. And seeing that this month's topic is fix and flips remotely, I guess I do have to do a little shout out to our ninja raccoon named Jub Jub. Jub Jub was a Houdini magician raccoon who who almost cost us a lot of money during one of our remote rehab projects. One of the contractors was trying to get away with a ton of damage that allegedly was caused by this raccoon who came down a fake chimney all the way into the HVAC system, into the furnace, chewed all the wires inside the furnace, then magically undid the screws from within the furnace, and then went to the basement, climbed up the walls, chewed up everything. And because of this jub, we allegedly had to replace the, the furnace. We had to repaint a bunch of the walls. We had to redo the floors because he scratched all those things up. So our Ninja Raccoon Jub learned us a lot about what not to do when doing large rehabs remotely and what to do as well. And we're going to talk about all this. But bottom line, if you're going to do this fix and flip business remotely, even any rehab remotely, you really need good basics, and you need a great team who are going to carry out the work that needs to be done in a timely and cost-effective manner. Easier said than done, but you need those things if you're going to get out of this. Not alive, but with a smile on your face and a happy bank account. So all that to say that in our first year, we learned a ton. We brought contractors to court. We brought property managers to court. We basically 2 failed flips where the intention of the property was to do a fix and flip, and being over budget, being delayed timelines, missing the good time of the year to actually sell these properties, we just decided to burr them out, and they became rentals, which we still own today for cash flow, still at a discount because we bought right. So failed flips to rad rentals. That's the story. So in our first year, our first property, I think you know this one, we bought for dirt cheap, under $10,000. We bought it, we renovated, and we burred it out. And now it's one of our short-term rental listings with some very nice cash flow. It's actually worth, I should update the slide, but it's worth, we had it appraised fairly recently for 139,000. So all in for 39, now it's worth 139. So there may be appreciation in the properties you buy as well, even if it's in the Midwest. Not as strong as appreciation as you might see in Canada or in some markets in the US, if I'm talking about Cleveland, for example. But if you buy on the down, in a down cycle, right, markets are cyclical, and over time, all markets do appreciate, just at different rates. This was the second rental property at a discount with cash flow. Our third, a nice, very strong cash flowing triplex, which we talked about last month. This was the first failed flip. So after doing 3 buy and holds, well, burrs, I should say, we did do some renovation, refinanced and cashed out. This was one we wanted to fix and flip because we saw that we can buy it for $25,000. We were going to put more in renovation, a $40,000 renovation. We touched a lot of this property, and it was supposed to sell for about $125,000. That was the target. With some contractor trouble, some timeline trouble, et cetera, we decided to refinance it and keep the cash flow long term. And this was the other one we didn't learn from the first. We said, okay, it might be a fluke. We're going to change contractors, and we're going to change some things. We actually decided to significantly project manage this one ourselves because the first time we had given it to a general contractor to oversee the property, and it didn't go as we wanted. This one we were going to be heavily supervising ourselves on the ground, and so buying it for $20,000, we were going to put 35 into it. So we actually did more in this property, but since we were on the ground, we were able to minimize costs and go further with 35 than the 40,000 went. And but same thing here. When we got to sell the property, it didn't appraise as high as we wanted it to. It only appraised at 103, and we were expecting about 130-ish. And surprisingly, when we started getting people to come look at the property to buy it, they would say one of two things. They would say, why is the property value so low? Because we had granite countertops, we had redone the whole thing, all mechanicals, new garage. They was like, why is the property so cheap? because so what are you hiding? It was really weird. And then since it was the comps were fairly lower, it was the nicest house on the street at that point. The comps were low, so the lower end of the spectrum would say, well, why is it so expensive? So we kind of got caught in between. We were rather impatient. We only had it on the market for about 2.5 months, and then we saw that we missed the high end of the cycle. We were getting into winter, and we didn't want to hold it through the winter unsold, and so we just started the process of refinancing. By the time that process was over, we still didn't have a solid buyer at a price point that made it profitable, and so we just burned it out for cash flow, and we still own it today. So that's the story of our 2 failed flips turned into rad rentals. When you buy right, you have many exit strategies. That is one key lesson of what we learned through fix and flipping remotely. So there's a ton of questions when it comes to buying U.S. properties, and we created this ebook for you, which does cover some very important principles of fix and flipping, also just buying investment property. So if you haven't already read the ebook, by all means, it's there for you. n4t.club/ebook. Go get that and start the adventure. So diving right into the meat and potatoes, today's training, we're going to talk about that fix and flip project. And we have a few videos for you. So we're really going to try to bring you into the experience of fix and flipping to see what it looks like. So fix and flip, I'm sure you know what it is, because that's what we see most on TV with HGTV and flip or flop and all that. You buy a property that needs love, that has potential to increase its value through improving the condition and the amenities of the property. You make it better, you fix it up, and you sell. And then hopefully you've made a nice profit and you can repeat or live off it. So fix and flip, first of all, is a way that some people make the jump into full-time real estate investing, because it is typically, when you start off, it's a very active endeavor. You project managing, you're picking up the phone, and you're coordinating all of the people who are doing the work. And well, for people who do it where it's legal to do it, sometimes they do some of the work themselves. They cut their costs and do it. Obviously, in the US, you can't pick up a hammer unless you have the appropriate visas to do so. But for a lot of people, it's the way into full-time real estate, because if you make $20, $30, $50,000 every 3 to 4 months, because you manage to buy, fix, and sell effectively and quickly, well, that could support your base living expenses, and you can do that, survive, and start building your more passive investment options on the side. So for people, it's a way to build their war chest, to build up the capital, to invest into more passive investments. Like I said, this was not our experience. This was the idea. In practice, it didn't go quite like that. We haven't fixed and flipped, I guess, successfully. I don't know if that's the right word to put it, but the plan, we've entered into the plan of fix and flipping and never completed it to our satisfaction, which is why we entirely focused on buy and hold and following the 2 golden rules of real estate, and just slowly building up our baseline cash flow until we're able to live off the portfolio itself. Longer process, but ultimately more scalable, in our opinion. So let's begin to see what it would look like to enter into one of these fix and flip projects. So here's a quick video, a snapshot of one of our rehab projects. Here we go. So we have a little walk-in space. We're gonna keep the ceiling, fix that up. It's nice and unique. Change the floors, maybe restain the wood. Definitely changing all the windows and blinds and whatnot. Yeah, this door, we'll try to save this one. I'm kidding. That's going. But nice wheelchair accessibility here. Older windows, all that's going to be changed. We've just ripped out the ceiling tiles. It's on the floor now. About half of the tiles were on the floor when we bought the property, but it doesn't matter. We're changing everything. Old AC unit, that's going away. Janie's gonna fix up that nice mirror, put a nice frame around it, make it look real nice, and open up the space here. Watch your step. The dining area. Notice there's carpet on the floor. Carpet's coming out. We're gonna put in some new flooring here, some new vinyl flooring here, water resistant, easy to install.
Vinyl planks.
Vinyl planks. Sorry. The kitchen. Not bad if this were a rental property, but we're intending to flip this, so all this is getting ripped out, replacing it with all new stuff, modern design and whatnot. This old nook is actually going to be repurposed as a
Pantry.
A pantry, exactly. We're going to put some nice, maybe some French doors here, some kind of nice design to access that area. This is a 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom at the moment. So the first bedroom on the first floor, it's right here. Average size, nothing spectacular here. This doesn't need all that much. New floor, paint, new fixture, new windows. Nothing big. Upstairs. All this carpet's gotta go. Love the wall color. That's going immediately. And as you can see, this has been left to itself for quite some time, which is why we managed to pick it up for a steal. The bigger the problem, the greater the opportunity. We're not afraid of that. Second bedroom here. Just paint, floor, window, fixture. We're out. Maybe a new door, because you don't want people spying in on you when you sleep. Third bedroom, the master. Nothing crazy in size, but decent. Big semi-walk-in closets with extra storage. Now the bathroom's going to be the biggest challenge. If we're going to sell and there's only 1 bathroom, this bathroom is not all that big. But we'll have to make it work. Marble or granite?
Marble.
Marble, countertops, both in the bathroom and the kitchen. Obviously new toilet, new tub, new everything here. I'm going to change all that. We have ceramic tiles on the floor, most likely, to finish it all nicely. Lastly, the basement. Not finished, and we'll not finish it either. We'll make it a nice living space with an extra room, a +1 room. We can't officially consider it a bedroom, but I mean, people can sleep in there if they put a bed, right? So, the basement, nice size. It's the whole square of the house. We have a cold storage area. There's some. I just burst the light bulb 2 seconds ago there. So watch your step. This used to be a workshop. We'll repurpose it as a +1 room, not a bedroom, because there's no safety exit. Alright, we'll need a new furnace, new hot water tank, new floors throughout. We're still undecided if we're going to paint it nicely with the texture or we're going to put in tiling. And that's it.
And there you have it. So a couple comments went in. Yes, I was a little younger at the time. This was in our first year. It was the end of our first year of for me, real estate investing, but for Janie, our first year of U.S. real estate investing. And so this was when we were a little bit more comfortable handling a bigger project. And yes, Maryse, who just commented, not so big, just change the floor, window, paint, furnace, mechanicals, windows, garage, got the kitchen, yeah, not so big. But a lot of it is in the mind, right? Not so big. Yes, it was a big project. I just don't. I try not to convince myself it's bigger than it is or it needs to be. But basically, most everything was changed, other than we didn't move any walls. That's for sure. and we didn't do the roof. The roof was new, changed by the bank because it was a bank owned.
Welcome back. It's officially the end of the demo. 1 week later, after about 90 hours, the demo is done. This is the kitchen. Recognize it? No. Cabinets are ordered. Nothing's staying except the frame of the window. We caved in. We bought ourselves a ladder. Thought that might be handy at some point. Come on. Fruits of our labor. Dumpster's coming in a few days. I'll plop that all in. Same thing with the garage doors. Everything's coming out. All right, let's check out the basement. You got a brief preview last time, but let's take a look with the lights on this time. Okay, so again, all the floors are out, and the walls now as well. Look at that. Nice and clean. Wasn't like that 3 days ago. That's it. We met with the drywall specialist to have all this closed up, make it look real nice. Stay tuned.
Awesome. So, what do we think, right? Is this a big project for you? Is this a small project? Is this a bigger bite than you can handle? There's so much learning that gets done when you're on the ground like that. And so this was a property that all the everything was winterized, and so there was basically no water, running other than the main and the basement, and the main actually had a leak as well. That's why maybe you didn't see it, but there was a fan running in the basement just to get the humidity out and dry it up a little bit. But I mean, Janie and I were hardcore. Like when we say that we did this business, we put in the sweat equity. It was intense in our first year. We stayed in that property for a little over 2 months to oversee the work that needed to be done. And for a good chunk of that time, we didn't have we certainly didn't have like the only running water we had was from the main, so no hot water, no nothing like that. And so we would take our sponge showers with cold water right in the basement, right from the main. And at one point, we had one of our plumber come in, and he felt bad for us. He gave us a piece of hose, which we connected to the main, so at least we weren't at the bottom, like under the main, splashing ourselves. There are priorities, right? And taking a shower, height of the shower head wasn't on our priority list. And so after he donated us a piece of like 4-foot piece of hose, now we can shower from up ahead, which was nice. But it's so much fun, so many stories to tell, so many memories. Anyways, I highly recommend that if and when you do your first major rehab project like this one, video record it. I do the journal. So many memories are coming back to me as I look at these wonderful educational opportunities for people you meet. Excellent marketing if you're going to be posting it on your social media, whatever. Like I see you saw my Lily, my dog. She was part of that renovation project, and so was Noisette. So our two dogs were there. You saw them in a previous video. Just it makes me all warm and fuzzy inside to. And it's part of life, right? It's part of the experience, of the joy of the adventure, to share it with your loved ones. And that's definitely what we did. So before I get too emotional here, so far everything I showed in the video was, it's just kind of matter of fact, very HGTV like. This is what happened. This is everything's moving along nicely. But they certainly don't always go as planned, these renovation projects. And for this particular property, there are two main things that really did not go according to plan. One was the fact that in our initial budget, the garage that was in the back, we had planned, and we had a contractor give us an estimate and agree that they could fix it up. The bottom was rotted out. And so we were just going to replace the bottom panels, resolidify it, change the door, and we were good to go. So, like a $2,500 job. When push came to shove and actually came to do the job, the contractor was no longer comfortable doing the job because it had further rotten, and then there was a slant, there was some structure that he wasn't comfortable. We couldn't find anybody else to to replace him to do the job, and the city was okay with us not replacing the garage because we had someone, but it basically we couldn't do it anymore, and we tore down the garage and rebuilt it. So it went from a $2,000 to $3,000 job to a $13,000 job. So that's a $10,000 bump in the budget that we didn't directly account for. I mean, we had our buffers in place, which accounted for it, but it's never fun when you have to spend an extra $10,000 than planned, especially on a $25,000 job, right? So that's one thing that didn't go according to plan. The other thing that didn't go according to plan, and we have a video right up next, is basically we were nearing the end of the project. We had already started painting. We redid the drywall, the ceilings, the tirer les joints. We did the drywall, the compound to seal off the seams between the drywall. Everything was plastered and repainted. The dining room was finished, and then this happens.
That's pimp. Let's pop another pimple. Oh yeah. Wonderful.
You can open it up. I'm gonna open the ceiling. And the color is not very nice looking.
This thing had to pee for a little while.
Really?
Just holding it in.
Yeah, it's been holding for far too long.
Should have seen when that wall was going.
I'm gonna have to pierce that one too.
That is. It always amazes me how much water it can hold.
Alright, say bye to the camera.
Till next time.
So what happened? The ceiling needed to pee. So that whole ceiling, it didn't look all that great now because water had come in, and it was holding water, and I burst the pimple there. But ultimately, there was a piece of plumbing right. It wasn't even close to there. It was actually like 6 feet behind me in that video, and that piece of pipe decided that was the time that it was going to collapse. It was an old pipe, so if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But it decided to break right during the renovation, and so boom, there goes all that paint and drywall job, both on the ceiling in the dining room. You saw in the back there was another piece. That's where the main leak was. So all that finished product we had to take out, redo. And so that's another couple $1,000 because there was the plumbing job on top to do, replacing the pipe behind in the ceiling, behind the wall, and all that. So this is unfortunately not that problem particular. That problem isn't typical, but problems are typical in a renovation project, which is why we always say you're going to want your buffers in place when you're involved in a renovation project. 50% more of what you expect it to cost, have it available just in case. So this was a $25,000, $30,000 renovation job. And so that would mean about $12,000 to $15,000 more just in case stuff happens. And in this particular case, we basically took that entire budget, $10,000 for the garage, another about $2,000 for that patch. That's our 50%. And fairly consistently, that 50% comes up. Unfortunately, sometimes it happens that it doesn't, but believe me, you want to have that liquidity close to hand when you need it. So that gives you a little bit of an insight of on the job, if you will, on site? What do you see? What can you expect? And then let's take a look from a numbers perspective. This is another fix and flip, a more recent one that happened in 2019 from a partner of ours, a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath plus garage, which they bought about 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, right around that time, for $40,000. The renovation, $35,000. So the total project cost, you might think, is purchase plus rehab, $75,000. We're going to see that there are more costs involved in that with renovations. So it's important to have your numbers correct up front so you don't get surprised, not only on the buffers, but there are other costs involved, and they are real costs that are going to eat up your profit margin. So bought it for 40, renovation about 35, and the ARV, what you expect to put it on the market for, or the full retail price, would be 129 on this property. And these are the numbers that justified the decision to buy this and do a fix and flip for that partner. So these are the numbers. But another important question would be, how much money, how much capital do I need to pull this project off, right? Like I said, you have to buy it for about 40,000. There's a renovation about 35. So wouldn't it be logical that I need 75,000 to pull this project off? Well, let's dive in a little deeper. We're always going to say, if you're getting involved in a rehab, have 50% more than what you expect the renovation to cost just in case. So this is a $35,000 renovation, have 50% more, 17.5 thousand more available just in case. So that's another 17.5 thousand. You have to buy this property. When you buy property, there are closing costs, right? And so figure, about $2,000 or 5%. 5% is a little generous, but on the lower value properties, maybe you want closer to a flat 2,000 to handle that. So that's another 2,000. So we're at 17, 18 plus 2, and holding costs as well. You are now the owner of that property, which means you still have to insure it, and you'll want vacant insurance or rehab insurance, which is a little bit more costly than just regular landlord insurance or just regular insurance, because it's vacant, risks are higher. You have to pay the taxes on it for the time that you own the property. So between the time you buy and you sell, there are taxes to pay, or a tax liability that's accruing during your ownership period, which will have to be paid when you sell it. There's no maintenance, no management, unless you have a project manager going in, which could be the case. Utilities, minimal, but they are there. There's electricity for the team, doing the renovation, a little bit of water, just connection costs to the power, the water, the sewer. There might just be basic costs. Those are your holding costs. You have to pay those or pay them eventually. So okay, Kyle, 10,000 seems to be pretty high for the holding costs, right? So yeah, but what happens if you needed financing to buy this property? There is maybe a mortgage or definitely interest to pay. A lot of short-term rehab loans are interest only, and so that could be a 10, 12% interest rate loan. And so if you're buying and renovating at high leverage, plus maybe you want to have your buffer part of that leverage as well, well, you need to borrow close to $86,000, $87,000 to safely go through this project. And so at 10% over 3 or 6 months, those are part of your holding costs. So that's what I'm saying. It's more than just buying and rehabbing that you need to account for when you're getting involved in a fix and flip. And these are all costs that add up and will affect your bottom line profit as well. So, so a little bit more about those holding costs. I basically went through Summit here on your holding costs. So they will be lower than what you typically see, but they're there. The mortgage, insurance, the taxes, the project management. I wouldn't say there's any maintenance costs, because you're doing, you have your rehab budget. That's the maintenance, utilities and shit in case something happens. And during what timeline are you factoring in these holding costs for? So when you do a substantial fix and flip, I mean, I would recommend that you aim at a minimum for 3 months. The target is to get in and out in 3 months. In our experience, though, contractors being what they are, and timelines, and with COVID, it's been even harder to find people and find them quickly, and quality people. So I would factor at a minimum 6 months of holding costs. And you certainly don't want it to take 12 months, but if it does, those extra months better not completely ransack your profit margin, just in case. 3-month target, a 6 to 12-month budget for your holding costs to safely get through the project. If it's too tight for those type of margins, maybe your deal's not profitable enough to do in the first place. So the reality, this is it. So this property, the target sale price was 100, the ARV is 129,000, but that's a full retail. How long is it going to take to find a full retail buyer? Longer than if we put it on the market at a nice discount, right? Now we might be appealing to an investor or a first-time home buyer who gets a great deal. We want to move quickly. We don't want those holding costs to come in. The deal has to be profitable enough to put a discount to make it move faster and be profitable and give a good buy to the buyer. So we talked about our cost basis, which was about 87,000. And don't forget, now that you're selling, there's new closing costs for that transaction as well. If you have representation with a realtor, they have their commission. So that's going to eat up as well your profit margin. It's not you didn't need that money. You don't need that extra 10,000 to do the project, but it's going to eat up in your profits from the back end. Unless you have a big network of buyers and investors and you don't mind putting the marketing efforts and serious marketing efforts to promote the property yourself, I would recommend dealing with an agent, a broker, to sell your property, even if it's an extra 5% to your closing. Their network, their marketing, their time, I think is well worth the 5% to move the property quickly. Now, it's important to use an agent who has experience, who really can move the property quickly, who has a large buyer database, et cetera, et cetera. It's not just listed and they forget what are they going to do to promote and move that property. Very important. So right on Google, you can say like top realtors of enter city, right? Top realtors in Cleveland. Da, 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 da. Do your due diligence on these people. The size of their team, the volume, the number of transactions they do is going to make a big difference. Just a realtor that's starting out and charges 5%, if you can go to the top agent and maybe they charge 6%, but who cares if they get you a higher price, a faster turnaround? It's peanuts for the difference in service that you can get. So based on what happens in that renovation, right, because there was a buffer, and we were selling somewhere between 109 and 129, the profit margin is a range, right? There might be a $12,000 profit, there might be a $32,000 profit, depending on what goes down, how hot the market happens to be, how much of a discount we're putting up front, and so forth. So how do you calculate your ROI on this? Well, again, your ROI, your return on investment is going to be a range as well. So depending on if you have a 12,000 or a 32,000 divided by the cost of the project, well, you get, oh, I don't know why I don't have the next slide calculating here, but I really don't know why I don't have it. So 12,000 divided by 75,000, you're basically around the 16% range. But if you have up to 32,000 and you really make a sweet flip on it, well, you're almost at the 50% return on investment, which is a very strong return on investment. Keep in mind, though, that this is more an active investment model. All right. Yes, there's ways to systematize the entire rehab process. That takes good teams, good people, and experience to learn the steps on how to do that. Again, we're not expert fix and flippers. I'm not going to say that we have all that in place, but some people do. It's their business model, and they've automated a lot of the fix and flip business. But when you start out, most likely you're not going to get started. There's a lot of time involvement. So you might look at a 40% return on investment and be like, oh my God, this is insane. This is amazing. How much time did you put in versus just going in and buying a turnkey property for 12% versus a 40% return that took 2 hours a day to manage. for 3 months. So I'm exaggerating a little bit, but nonetheless, there is a time component that it often gets missed in the calculations as well when we talk about return on investments on a fix and flip project. But the advantage is that ROI is per deal, meaning if you're able to really fine tune the system and you're popping out a property or you're rolling properties, once every 4 months, the same, you can do 3 deals in 1 year if you're rolling every 4 months. So that 15% or that 40% return on investment is compounded 3 times a year, which makes maybe closer to a 50% annualized return on investment, or maybe 150, that range, 150 or 180% return on investment on an annualized basis, because you're compounding that gain per deal. Exactly, Maryse, in the chat here. I don't know if you can see the chat when I share, but Maryse says, do you account for your time? That's exactly right. And Jarrett on the call is also saying that he got $85,000 on his project, above what he expected. He had a very, very large renovation project, closer to the million, right? So $1 million, $500,000 rehab budget, 50%, that's $250,000. Oopsies, just in case. So he's up to 85. So I hope he padded his budget in consequence. So there's the numbers. Yeah, so 16 to 42% every 4 months. So you can definitely compound that and double your money every year if you have the amount of projects to support and to keep the flow going. Keep in mind that these returns are pre-tax dollars as well. Another fact that doesn't always get to the bottom line on these nice presentation sheets. So you are selling an asset, and so there are capital gains to be paid. And in the US, fix and flips, if you hold a property for less than 12 months, it is a short-term capital gain. So it's a higher tax bracket as well. So all that eats up the profit, and these numbers will obviously change downwards because of that. Another reason why we don't like to sell, more time consuming, and you lose the passive because of it. It's just a big chunk, hopefully, if it goes well, and then you better put it back into something that's going to make you the money. So I don't know in which way your mind was blown with these numbers and this presentation, but there is something to be done. I don't know if I think it's on the next slide here, or a little bit. Yeah, I'll talk about it in just a little bit, but the minimum in return on investment, or the minimum profit from a flip, I would advise make sure you're lining up something with a reasonable effort for $25,000 profit at a minimum. Lower than that, I think your margins are too tight, and it's not exactly worth the time to project manage and be involved in that project, which is why maybe in the Midwest may not be the best place to do your fix and flips. There are some JK partners who are doing flips across the US. Some people are doing flips in Canada, where margins can be a lot higher, in the $50,000, $100,000 range. And that, with good reason, might be better markets to do fix and flips in. Now, higher mortgages, higher leverage, higher risk, yes. But if you do your numbers right, make sure you have your liquidity safeguarded. Well, I think it makes more sense to go out with an expectation of doing 50, 75, 100,000 on a flip than to do 15,000. So what does it take to do a fix and flip remotely? It takes a whole bunch of things. Management and follow-ups and a good team are critical. If just one person decides that they want to do you wrong, or they get tight, or they have relationship problems on their side, and it affects their chain of the work and it slows down everybody else, there's a lot of people, there's a lot of variables that come into play. And this is a real thing that slows down projects, unfortunately. Like just now, the timeline to order windows and to get them installed is 4 months, 3.5 months in Cleveland, 3.5 months. So if windows are part of the rehab, it's a 3.5 month minimum, right? To get the job done. It's crazy. It's unfortunate, but it's crazy. So there are all these types of constraints that are in play. but it takes that system, right? You really have to know where you're heading, all right? Because you really want to save yourself some stress, time, energy, and money, because there's going to be a lot of that if it's not done, appropriately. I highly recommend that you read up on the correct sequencing of a rehab project, right? Starting with the fundamentals, kind of like the fact that we had that the plumbing burst, it affected later stages of the rehab. Now that's just unfortunate, but because we weren't planning on doing that piece of plumbing. But if you do the plumbing before you paint the walls because of that type of situation. Like there's an order of things as you do a rehab, and you can coordinate multiple teams simultaneously. There's some parts of the rehab that you can have, you can have the HVAC and the plumber at the same time and have the exterior painted. Like they're not stepping over each other's toes. You can have more than one team on the go at once. So project management is a really, really good skill to master as you're looking to do these type of projects.
Aww.
It does take the team. In every business, any investment model, you want the team for if you want the dream. So really, really quickly, we have a couple minutes left. So what are the big lessons that we learned? It's not easy. Fix and flipping remotely is not easy. Aim for the 25,000+ profit. I don't exactly sure why I put 10K minimum there, but I would say 25K minimum is the reasonable expectation. Fix and flipping is the only time that we have ever lost money in an investment property in the US. Okay. So yes, there's a potential for a 40% or 158% return on investment annualized. But in my opinion, there's a higher risk of actually losing money on the deal. Markets can shift. There can be crashes. There can be bubbles as well. But it's the only time we've actually lost money on a deal. We were involved in a fix and flip with a partner. We were 50-50 on the deal, and they had brought the money. We were bringing the team and the management, and it really did not sell the way we expected it to. And we sold at a loss just because the holding costs, it was a bigger deal. Holding costs were higher, and we just wanted to move it, get out of it. And we actually paid the loss on our partner side just to keep, to save face, save our reputation. So none of our partners ever lost any money dealing with us to date. So that was important for us to keep being able to say. So we bit the bullet on that investment. It's the only time we ever lost money on a real estate deal. It was a fix and flip. Speed is a big factor, especially when you're using leverage. When you're in those high interest short-term loans at 10-12%, adding an extra month, adding an extra 3 months, adding an extra 6 months, which has happened to us, it eats up those profits fast. And it was a reason why we decided to sell at a loss, because if we didn't, it was only going to get bigger and bigger, and that balloon was coming up. So that's the stress part that can come into play with leverage. Ideally, you're on the market for the summer months. So you have all those summer months, and it's sold before school starts again. That's where there's a big influx of properties being bought and sold. And because you don't want to be holding a property through the winter, having a whole 4 to 6 months holding costs for the market to come up again to full values, try to get it done right in the middle of the summer. So you have all those summer months to sell the property at highest buck. When you're dealing with contractors, okay, don't give them all the money up front, right? You give them basically enough to buy the materials. So that's typically a third of the cost. Get them to buy the materials. So they're a little bit on the hook as well during your project. So they have motivation to continue as well. As the project continues, pay them out in chunks as it goes, so they can continue financing their team members, their employees, and so forth. Keep a very close eye on the progress and the timeline of your renovation project. If you're doing it remotely, it is not too much to ask to have a weekly video meeting, walkthrough, pictures. So you can open up a nice little Dropbox file, have them update the pictures and the videos once a week so you can see the progress. When you get started, have the entire rehab's timeline outlined right from the beginning and agreed upon with your contractor, so that we have our checkpoint, so we know if we're ahead or behind. And typically we're behind schedule always. So on that note, it might be a good idea to put early completion bonuses. So if they finish a day early, well, they get an extra $200 for every day they finish early. And vice versa, you might put a late penalty. So every day they finish late, there's 50 or $100 coming off their bid for, to have them motivated in both senses, motivated to finish early and motivated to not finish late as well. So we have some positive and negative reinforcement going simultaneously. Last thing we learned as well is to target the median home at first, right? Especially as you're learning, don't take something that's completely oddball for that sector, that area, that neighborhood. Take your cookie cutter home where the numbers are as predictable as possible. I recommend 3 bedrooms at a minimum, 1.5 bathrooms at a minimum, 1,100 square feet at a minimum. And if you're fix and flipping, you're most likely selling to retail buyers, first-time home buyers. So schools are important, local amenities are important. And so you will want to look at that as well in your due diligence to make sure you're offering a product that's desirable and in high volume for the marketplace. So those are some pretty big takeaways that we've taken over the years through fix and flipping. So hopefully they are of high value to you. So I believe that is it. Marie's a quick question. Do you consider the BRRRR strategy as risky because there's a rehab to do? It is riskier, of course, as a rehab, but again, the size of the rehab is a big indicator of the size of the risk you're taking. We 100% promote the BRRRR strategy because it, at least through that risk, you're forcing the value up, you can refinance, get your money back, and you keep cash flow long term. It blows my mind. I hate the idea of going through all this effort, all this risk, all this variability to just sell it and not have some gain for the rest of my life. Maybe I'm lazy or I'm a little picky on that, but I really don't like the idea of selling a potential cash flow investment. I don't like that. So we have a last video.
Welcome back to JKTV. You're just in time. Let's reveal the masterpiece. And there you have it, our accent wall. Completed with success. Now, in rehab, it takes balls. Tape balls, fur balls, and as long as you don't go tripping over it, you're good. Take care.
So a little bit of humor, a little bit of fun. Stand out and go get your miracle. We have explosions in the process. I'm running late on our premium mastery call, so I'm just going to go straight to our last slide here. If you have any questions, if you want to get involved, this is how you do it. Next month we're going to talk about the BRRRR strategy. So not as significant as a big fix and flip, so smaller rehabs, but we're going to look for that long-term cash flow. So this is how you get a hold of us, our website, our email. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed. We are going to shift gears into our premium mastery call, and I'm going to wish you a wonderful evening. Take care, everyone, and do now for tomorrow. Cheers.